Hi, I'm Linda, and this is No Frills ASMR. I was recently with my sister, and she was like showing me a picture from some Facebook group she's in, and they were showing a flock camera that had been, I think they called it deflocked or something. And she goes, "Do you know what that is?" And I go, "Oh, yeah, like the ones they used to watch the bald eagles." Now, you guys know I'm usually kind of up on this stuff, but I didn't really know about it. And so I've spent this morning kind of learning a little bit about these. But that kind of led to other things. So I'm just going to touch on flock cameras. But what I kind of want to talk about is predictive policing, which I find maybe also very interesting to talk about. So let's start with the flock cameras. So what I don't know how many of you already know about this. Probably most people. I'm behind the curve on this one, I think. But they're called flock cameras. I know I write half capitals, half not, and I'm not yelling at you either. And they are PR cameras. So that stands for Automated License Plate Readers. If I can, I forget the name of the website, but there is a website you can go to see where there are flock cameras near you. And I was shocked, I tell you, shocked by how many there are on the streets right near my house. Like, so many. And they basically, for the most part, look like a little camera. And they have like a solar panel that seems to be running them. And they put them on poles. And they're usually on your municipal or city properties. And Flock is a private company that gets, I guess, cities, towns, municipalities, whatever, to allow them to put their cameras there. And then they sell the towns, usually police departments, but it can be like, I think Lowe's Hardware pays for some of these, for the information. And what they are recording is the license plate, and I think the car, make and model, the GPS data, and timestamp for the cars. But what they actually do record beyond that is a full picture, a photo, and that is captured and saved. And those photos show the driver and the passenger, and that image is retained. Now, what they say they are collecting is the license plate data, but I can tell you that they are collecting. They say they're not using facial recognition, but we'll go into this predictive policing because they could, is what I'm telling you. They will have that image recorded. And I think like retailers might use it to see who's coming in and out, what kind of customers, what they're buying. I don't know that kind of data. I didn't look into that much. But police departments can use it for those same reasons, to see what cars are coming through. And if there is a crime and they know they have a blue pickup truck with license plate XYZ, they can go to the flock data and be able to see where that truck went, when and where he was at different intersections, or she. So that is a good use of it for the police, and why they want to have that in case they need it for that. So that's the flock cameras. Now I'll try to find the link and put it in the description, where you can go look at well, you could just Google it, really. But you can look at where they are around you and you can go see them. You can see them from the road. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. So that's the flock camera thing. You know, and that got me thinking about, we have our Constitution here, and the Fourth Amendment. Oops. Is the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or the things to be. I feel like some of this is starting to the search, unreasonable search and seizure, and the probable cause parts. We got to be awfully careful with this stuff. Because I know a lot of you are like, well, it's not a problem if you don't break the law or if you don't do anything wrong. But we'll talk about this. This is why this predictive policing became more interesting to me. I watched a segment. If you guys don't ever watch John Oliver, he's really good. He does a ton of research, his staff, I'm sure, but on a lot of issues, and it's very interesting, I think. But he did one on the predictive policing. He touched on flock cameras, which is why I was watching it. And also something called Shot Spotter, which it hears gunshots and will send the police to the place where the gunshots are. But it's wrong, like a lot. Like most of the time, it's not correct. So that's kind of interesting. But anyway, this predictive policing is I think it's an AI tool. Hold on, I gotta move my leg. I'm sitting on my foot and it's going to sleep. But it's a tool. There's one called like Predictive, and there's one called Geolytica. So these tools look at historical crime data. They run it through a program, and then they flag hotspots for police. Now that is a place-based version. Whoops. Sorry, I'm thinking and writing at the same time. I don't know how teachers do it. They're geniuses, aren't they? Place-based. Okay. So that sets up or lets police know about hotspots based on historical crime data that is put into this computer software, AI software, whatever it is. I don't know. But then there is also, and more troubling to me, person-based. And this ranks people by their risk of being involved in violence. And John Oliver told a story of this boy, honestly, who I don't even remember what he'd done. He had done some crime. Well, so that ranked him as the number one or top 3 or something most likely to commit future crimes. And the police incessantly, is that the word? Went to his home, and they were just constantly checking in on him, pounding on his door, checking in. One time they told his sisters they were wanted to force their way in and search the house based on no crime he had committed. It was based on him being on this list of predictive policing It was crazy. It was actually crazy. And I can't even imagine if that was your teenage kid just having the police showing up. They would show up at all hours of the night. It would be like 2 a.m. They're pounding on their door. Like, what? What? But one thing when I was researching this, with this person based, they have in any police report that is connected to a shooting or a stabbing or some kind of police event. And some of those were the victims of that crime. The victims would be placed on the list of the hot spot, like people, the victims. So it's not really about whether or not, you might say it's not a problem if you don't break the law. Well, it might not be about whether or not you're criminal. It's about whether or not you've been misidentified. It's wild. And these tools, like in general, are based on historical crime data. And whether you want to believe me or not, you can look it up. And there are certain neighborhoods, and they're usually lower income, often Black or Hispanic neighborhoods, that are over policed. They have long been seen as hotspots, whether that is accurate or not. They've done data numbers where they have had anonymous like questionnaires go out to different neighborhoods about illegal drug use. And the white neighborhoods will have a lot higher self-reported illegal drug use, but way lower policing of that. Okay, so let's say there is a neighborhood. Let's say we have, I don't know. Let's say we have neighborhood A. Okay, so this neighborhood has been historically over policed, meaning not that just the police are there, but that they are going up and kind of doing random checks and maybe finding a kid with some weed on him, and then he gets a ticket for having weed on him or gets brought in to the station, things like this. Okay, so you have more police in the neighborhood, you have more arrests of all sorts, or even it's just police interaction. If there is police interaction, that gets accounted for on some of these sites. Okay, so just having more police historically leads to more stops. So, bunch of kids hanging out at the park. The police are going up, stopping them, checking them. They end up with more arrests. And then that leads to the algorithm in these predictive, what do you call them? Programs, I guess. Or program, yeah. Logarithm, that's a weird word. Sees more crime. And so then it becomes a hotspot and they send more police. So then it just goes right back around to here. So it's sort of a feedback loop, and it keeps feeding the algorithm. The algorithm. I'm sorry, I don't know why I can't say that word right. I've said it wrong for so long. Algorithm. I always have to think of Al Gore. Algorithm. But it just creates a loop. And you could say the opposite for neighborhood B. Where the police live in the neighborhood. Let's be it's all a bunch of white kids. Maybe they're all smoking weed and stuff, but nobody's really policing it so much. So you have less police. You know, rich kids. You have fewer stops, which leads to fewer arrests, which leads to the algorithm sees less crime. And so therefore you have less police being sent because it's not going to be considered a hotspot. So it just is an inherent bias that the program is trained on. That's what I'm trying to say. That this program is trained on biases that are already out there, and then those will continue and continue. And the problem with over policing a neighborhood is that it can change the behavior in a neighborhood. I know you might say, but having the more police there will make it so there's less crime, so people feel safer. That would be a great outcome. But oftentimes it's the police showing up at the parks and kind of harassing kids. I know, and sometimes they're 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds. And then the kids start to avoid the parks and they avoid calling the police for help. It becomes sort of a them versus us thing when you have more and more police all the time. And then with this person-based predicting, sometimes they predict it on your social circles too. So let's say they arrest one guy at the park and you're just with those kids. You're in that group because you're all hanging out after school. Now your name's been tagged as part of the person-based social circle of, trouble. And so any person who's listed on that police report might end up now being a predicted person. And then they can start just looking for you, the person, to kind of check you out, make sure you're not doing anything because you are part of this data. It's crazy. And I would worry that, where did my flock paper go? I don't know where I put it, but that, it was on here and I erased it. Okay, that's what happened. If this gets merged, and maybe it already is, with all the flock data, then you know what people are together in what car they're driving, who's in what car. If you start using facial recognition along with predictive person-based data, that's based on sometimes bad information. Sometimes as a kid, you're with the wrong crowd, not because you're part of it, but because you happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time after school. Or you smoked weed one time and now you're on the list. Or you were the victim of a crime and now you're on the list. It's a messy thing right now. And they've found that it's not, well, I'll tell you this. Some results show it might decrease crime 5 to 10%. Now, some cities are reporting that their violent crime has dropped 19 to 26%. I think that's like Miami-Dade and Seattle are saying that. Other cities are dropping this completely and covering their flock cameras because they have not found it to be helpful. And in fact, taking up police time with chasing around things that aren't good information. Yeah, so I don't know, it's weird. And then there's that shot spotter thing. It's supposed to hear gunshots. I don't know exactly how that would work because, like, the other day I'm walking down and there was a Subaru that was popping really loud, but it was going so loud that it made me jump and almost pee my pants because I was walking. I would think that would sound like a gunshot. I don't know. But it's sending police to neighborhoods where there's nothing going on, I guess. I don't think that's been very effective so far. I did read about this Chicago heat list where they had 1,400 people on the list as high risk, and a bunch of them had no crimes at all. Like lots of them. They were just victims of shooting, or they were arrested alongside people, or had some kind of social ties. Like, how do they even know all that? But Chicago got rid of that. But other cities are using it. And some cities are, I think, starting to use the facial recognition along with the photos they have from Flock. I don't know. It feels, and they're all pretty secretive about it. It's hard to find out what they're getting and what they know and what they're using it for. I know one thing though. I was reading about this police officer who, I don't remember if it was his ex-girlfriend or his ex-wife, but he started tracking her because he had access to the Flock information, the GPS and the timestamps, but also who she was with in the car. And he was like just stalking and harassing her. And I think she went to the police department and said, look, somehow he knows where I am all the time. He knows who I'm with, where I'm going, everything. And so they started looking into his laptop or something, and saw that he was just watching everything she did. Like crazy. And that's where this stuff could be used. If the government ends up, like ICE has access to these things, but also, think about that. So if you are protesting against something the government's doing, and I know right now some of you are like, people shouldn't protest, but wait until the government changes to something you don't like. Whatever. It can be used by both sides. This is not, once it's in place, it can be used by anybody. So keep that in mind. So if you want to go protest in support of the Second Amendment, eventually this could be used. This can be used, to look into anybody. So they could know you were at a protest, know who you were with, know what cars you're driving, know which direction you're going. It could be used for bad stuff. That's conspiracy. I'm being a conspiracy theorist. But I don't like it. I don't know. I mean, sure, if you have a serial killer, maybe this will help you find him. Or somebody who steals a car, I can see the good. I can. I'm looking out for us. I'm looking at what it could be used for, the overreach that it could be used for. I don't know, you guys. But yeah, I can see the benefits for police departments. I really can. But you gotta be careful with this stuff. That's all I'm saying. I think this is the one that really, really, really made me go, whoa, this seems pretty sketchy to me, this person-based one. But do go watch the John Oliver about it. It might be called Predictive Policing. I'm not sure. I found it looking up the Flock cameras, but it's on YouTube if you want to watch it, if you don't have HBO. It was worth the watch. Anyway, I don't know what else to say about that. What do you guys think? Am I worrying too much, or am I not worrying enough? And what other things are there? I think the website might be called hold on, I have my iPad here. Let me see if I can find the website for the Flock cameras, because I found that pretty interesting. You just put in your zip code and it will tell you. And people are like, doing stuff to them. This doesn't sound like... The top one is Have I Been Flocked? But I swear it was not called that. Flock camera database. Flock camera database search. Huh. I thought it was called something else. D-Flock? Maybe this is it. D-Flock. Let's see. Welcome to D-Flock. Yeah, I think this is it. So dflock.org. Join DFlock for a National Week of Action, and it tells you about it. Automated license plate readers are AI-powered cameras that capture and analyze images of all passing vehicles, storing details like your car's location, date, and time. They also capture your car's make, model, color, and identifying features such as dents, roof racks, bumper stickers, bumper stickers. Think about that too, because a lot of people often turning these into searchable data points. These cameras collect data on millions of vehicles regardless of whether the driver is suspected of a crime. So they're collecting that even if for no reason. These systems are marketed as indispensable tools to fight crime. But they ignore the powerful tools police already have to track criminals, such as cell phone location data, creating a loophole that doesn't require a warrant. And here's like a picture of the kind of thing. This is what it looks like. But they also have a front view I've seen. Maybe that's only if you have a front license plate. I don't know. Has the Raiders sticker, the license plate, the back rack of the car, that it's a gray Toyota Tacoma, the geolocation, the date and time, the dangers, privacy violations. ALPRs track your movements and store your data for long periods of time, creating a detailed record of your location history. Risk of misuse. Data from ALPRs has led to wrongful arrests. Yeah, that's true too. You got to look that up too. Profiling, and stalking ex-partners by police officers. Limited benefits. There's no substantial evidence that ALPRs effectively prevent crime, despite Flock's unethical attempts to prove otherwise. Interesting. ALPRs are a serious risk to your privacy and civil liberties. These systems continuously record your movements without a warrant, probable cause, or even reasonable suspicion. Your driving history is rarely confined to the town or city where the cameras are installed. It's typically shared with thousands of other agencies nationwide, secretly. Once the data is out of your community, you have no control over how it's used or what rules apply, leading to instances of misuse. Flock is one of the largest ALPR vendors in the United States. Their cameras are installed for police departments, businesses, and HOAs. What? Homeowner associations. Captured vehicle data is uploaded to Flock's cloud system, where participating agencies can search and share information across jurisdictions. Flock is not the only ALPR vendor, and other vendors still participate in similar practices. Wild, you guys. I think it's pretty wild. I didn't even know this was happening till last week, so it shows what I know. Anyway, all right, let me know what you think. I admit that maybe I'm being a little reactionary about this. Maybe. Or maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm being under. I don't